Hi folks, welcome to one more episode of Supply Chain Knowledge. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions. That means, how should I develop my career, or basically the title should be how you should have a career conversation with your boss. I believe there's a misconception that the company you work for, they are responsible for your careers, right? They are the one who is responsible, that you should grow, you should get promotion, you should get your own knowledge. I think they don't, right? I've been part of the companies, I've been into leadership management program. When I was in a leadership management program, there was like 50 people, company invests a lot of money, and 3 years or 5 years later, 90% of the people leave, right? So this career program doesn't really guarantee that you're really gonna grow in the company you are in. And I believe there's only two people who are responsible for your career. The first is yourself, and the second is your boss. I'm going to repeat this again. Only two people responsible for your career. First is yourself, and the second is your boss, right? So do not think company owes you any career or anybody owes you any career. Yourself should take a responsibility of how you want to grow in your job and in your business. Now, I'm going to go through the 6 points you should use to have a career conversation with your boss, right? The first point I want to make, that you should do it formally. Don't do it randomly, don't do it unplanned, don't do it on a coffee machine, right? My strong recommendation is set up a call in the calendar of your boss, right? So, and the title would say, 2022 or 2023 or next 1 to 3 years, career discussion, right? So by doing that, your manager would take it seriously. That means you're taking the ownership of your own conversation and you mean it, right? That means you want to have a proper conversation focused on that topic, right? So that is very important to set the tone from the start. The second point is to understand your career goals. And the career goals both short term and long term. What I mean by short term, that means what you're going to do in the next 12 months. Long term means what you want to do in next 3 to 5 years. I mean, generally people are not clear on what they want to do in 3 and 5 years, but you should like to envision yourself, because like a sports person, right? If you vision, or if you basically try to think in your head you want to be successful, there's more chances of being successful. So therefore you should plan long term as well, where you want to see yourself. You want to become a supply chain manager, procurement manager, supply chain director, plant manager, whatever. You should have that vision in your hand. Have a role models at the same time. So let me give you example and for myself. So when I was a demand planner, my aim was to become basically the materials manager, then supply chain manager, and then the plant manager. So I pretty much try to follow that path. So similarly, once I want to have the career conversation with my team, I ask them, okay, what do you want to do? So, okay, you want to become, for example, you want to become a supply chain manager. Right now, you're a planner. There's a bit to go to become supply chain manager. So what I have to do to get you there? And similarly, there's the question for you as well. But the point I'm making on the second point is have goals, right? Have goals both short term and long term, and be ambitious about it. Think big, don't think small. The bigger you think, the better the chances of your success. One of my favorite quote is better to aim high than miss the mark than to aim low and make it. So don't feel embarrassed, be positive about thinking big, be ambitious, come up with like a big goals and talk to your boss. These are the things I want to do. I want to do a big projects, I want to do transformational projects. I want to manage people. I want to take your job in next 3 years, right? And don't feel ashamed about saying that. And I can tell you this, most of the bosses, if you say I want to take your job in few years time, they would appreciate it, because I always appreciate it. Now, so you schedule the meeting, right? And you know your goals, short and long term. Then what you should do, you should identify the job characteristics you like and the workplace characteristics you like. Well, that is important, right? If a boss or a company wants to spend time on you and they want to help you develop for the company, they like to know, do you like the company or not? I mean, do you like them as a people or not as well? So identify the current characteristics of your job, that you're enjoying what you're doing, as a buyer, as a supply chain analyst, as a logistics supervisor, as a planner, as a demand planner, whatever your role is, right? That you need to say, okay, this is what I like, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and I want to develop on that further. Let me give you an example. There was a demand planner I was working, and he said, I want to grow my experience, and I want to move towards basically more into the, let's call it a business analyst role. And then we put time and investment on him, and then he moved from supply chain to become a business analyst and working for the financial function. So not necessarily you should stick within supply chain, right? So a boss can help you growing out of your job, out of the function to do something bigger and better. But it's all start with what you like, what you're doing right now. So if you want to become a person who's just moaning and complaining everything is crap, the chances are you're not going to get a lot of attention or support. So do not do that. So now you've identified your competency gap, you know what you want to do, you know your short and long-term goals, you've basically told your boss what you like about this job. So at this point, you have to agree a development plan. So how you agree a development plan, you have to write it down to start with. You have to say, okay, and next year what I want to do some courses, and I want to do basically on-the-job training, or I want to do a challenging project. So if you want to become a manager of people, for example, you want to say, I want to manage, 2 people or small, let's call it small teams, right? And for that, I need some kind of mentoring and support. I'm not really a big fan of going into like corporate thousands of dollars of courses. Basically, you can go to SCMDOJO, you will find a lot of courses, and I believe on the job training, and you should learn from your boss as well, because if you're working with somebody who you look up to, you respect, that means he or she have a lot to tell you. So if you're working with somebody who you actually not respect or don't look up to, then you should find somebody else or some other company to work for. The point is, at this point, you have to agree a plan and you write it down. Most importantly, all good companies, they use some kind of software, some kind of HR software where you can put your goals in. So you have your objectives, you have goals, you have target, and then there's always a box to say, put your development plan in. So once you agree the development plan, put that into your system and agree that, okay, every 3 months or every 6 months, we are going to review it. So your boss or yourself know that you are on plan or not. So write it down, put it into the system, that will help. Now, so far, you've scheduled a meeting, you identified your short-term, long-term goals, you told your boss, what you like and you don't like. Now, in the fourth step, you have to identify your gaps, your knowledge gaps, your competency gaps, right? And I've talked about the competencies in terms of both your leadership skills, your technical competencies, and your technological competencies, right? So how you're gonna identify it? For example, to help you guys, SCMDOJO community, I have developed self-assessment tools. So if you go to SCMDOJO/tools, click on it, you will see, for example, various tools, materials management self-assessment, SNOP, warehouse, so on and so forth. So if you click on, for example, materials management competencies self-assessment, there you will have 11 categories. There is like 70 plus questions. Once you go through those self-assessment, you will identify that what you know, what you don't know. At the end of self-assessment, it will give you basically a spider chart, and it will tell you the lowing scoring areas, right? So that, for example, if you are into a buyer or a planner and you want to grow into materials management, for example, you do, and it will tell you need to grow on, for example, inventory management, or maybe you want to go on demand planning, whatever, right? So, but tools is designed around best practice of knowledge, that basically a knowledge component you should know about, right? So once you will identify the gaps, it will actually, the tool of SCMDOJO will give you some suggestions as well, the knowledge content. So you don't have to go and buy expensive trainings, you can do our courses, you can use our best practice, you can use our guides, you can use one of my videos or one of the expert videos as well. So the whole point is to identify the gaps. So the tool can help you as well. Furthermore, for example, if you want to think, I want to become a people manager, I want to grow as a leader as well. So in that case, I've written a blog which called it 18 business acumen skills you need. So the link is below. Go and read that blog. So because technical competencies are important, right? But they play less of a role in growing in the company. Is more about your leadership skills, your presentation skills, your communication skills, influencing skills, how you manage up, how you manage down, how you network with people, how you deal with customers. So it's all about business acumen skills combined with your technical competency, which makes you a better supply chain professional. Now, the third dimension, which is getting more and more important, which is about the digital transformation or the digital tools, right? Therefore, at SCMDOJO, we're creating a lot of content. I'm writing a book. You will see there is a special category now on the digital supply chain, where you can find 8 C's of digital supply chain. I'm giving the link below to the comments as well. You can have a look, or in the description to help you out what's happening in that category. So now, once you go to the meeting, you have to identify what you don't know, so you can build a plan around that. So now in the last step, as you can see, the sun is going down and we should finish our blog as well. Now, in the sixth step, what is important is to identify the resources which will help you to achieve your development plan, right? SCMDOJO is definitely one. That's why we're creating a lot of courses, guides, best practice, mentoring. The whole our aim is to give you those resources, whatever you need in terms of the quality, the knowledge content, and also the mentoring, right? That's why we have these mentoring calls. Furthermore, you can also look around your office environment, look around the senior managers you have in the business. There's also, in some companies, they have got this peer-to-peer, let's call it mentoring program. However, right, where you can find the resources, you can use those to basically execute your development plans. If you work for a good company, they are funding your degrees, master's degree, whatever, by all means, take it as well. I really don't sign any for example, clauses which keep you in a company for a long time, right? So identify the resources and use those resources to execute your own development plan. To summarize, I say it again, right? You own your own development plan, nobody else own it as well. So do a good job. And I believe every year, it's almost like a concept of continuous improvement, right? So have a small goals, have a small improvement plan. That this year, for example, I want to work on my soft skills alone, right? I want to work on my communication skills or my presentation skills, right? So that's your plan, execute it. For example, you can say a year after, I want to become a better project manager, right? So I can manage bigger projects, I can influence people who are maybe higher in the organization for me, right? So, but over the 3 to 5 years time, you will develop a very holistic set of skills, right? So whole concept of continuous improvement is small, month to month, day to day. Learning is a process, right? Learning is a journey. It is not a one-time event, right? So remember this. Hopefully you like what we're saying here, and keep it simple, keep it real. Subscribe to us, more videos to follow. Ciao. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments below.